picture of some confusion in Georgia as the Russian ambassador to Georgia should be arriving at the foreign ministry in Tbilisi around about now. Georgia says 2 Russian jets entered its airspace on Monday evening and fired an air-to-surface missile. It struck the ground near the village of Tsitelubani, about 65 kilometres northwest of the Georgian capital Tbilisi, and about 30 kilometres, that is, south of the breakaway region of South Ossetia, as Jonah Fisher reports.
This is what Georgia says is proof that Russia violated its airspace. A deep hole not far from a village. And in the bottom of it, pieces of what appear to be an unexploded missile. Georgian officials say on Monday night 2 Russian aircraft entered its airspace and fired a missile in what it called an act of aggression. There were no casualties.
And the radar records show us that they flew here about 60 kilometers from the border inside the Georgian territory, and they launched a guided missile right here at this site. You see now our experts are working here to determine what kind of missile it was. What we know now for sure is that it's a guided air-to-surface missile, extremely powerful.
Russia has categorically denied any involvement in the incident. A spokesman said that no flights had been undertaken in the region on Monday night or Tuesday morning. Russia's uneasy post-Soviet relationship with Georgia has deteriorated sharply in the last 4 years. Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili came to power in a so-called Rose Revolution and has firmly turned his back on Moscow, pushing for entry into both the European Union and NATO. Georgia has accused Russia of backing separatists in 2 breakaway provinces. And last year, Russia imposed sanctions on Georgia after it expelled 4 Russian diplomats. Jonah Fisher, BBC News.
Well, let's go over to our Moscow correspondent James Rogers, who's following this. And James, we've been hearing that the actual markings seen on the wreckage don't name the bomb or missile, and there's BPK we can see on it, and yet there's no weapon in the Russian arsenal called BPK. This is what we've been hearing from military experts. Adds to the confusion.
It absolutely does, David. I think that's one of the things which the Georgians are trying to establish. I spoke to their Interior Ministry spokesman just a little earlier today. He was saying those experts working at the scenes trying to work out just exactly where this came from. But I have to say also he was absolutely insistent that this missile had been fired, and it had been fired from Russian jets, which he said had violated Georgian airspace.
I mean, we see there, again, just looking at the pictures, there's Cyrillic writing on it at least. I mean, we've mentioned it's come down very close to the border with South Ossetia. The impact of that, the significance?
Well, of course, that's a breakaway region of Georgia, which is not under the control of the Georgian central government. South Ossetia gets a great deal of political support and has very strong economic ties with Russia. South Ossetia is a main source of tension between the 2 countries. So I think a lot of people are going to be making the link between this incident, whatever the truth of it turns out to be, and the tension between Russia and Georgia over South Ossetia.
James, thanks very much. Now, there's been further violence in East Timor following the announcement of a new